Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Data for Our Lives, May 9, 2025. So today was really a filler episode. It was definitely, not that interesting. A lot of scenes not worth, investing in, but let me go through it. So we go with Alex and Stephanie. So Stephanie and Alex are just talking about her novel that she, was writing about in her spare time. She's kind of embarrassed about it because it's really not safe for work information. It's too sexual. So she doesn't want it being published out to the public, but Alex believes in it. Alex believes that it could be on some 50 Shades of Grey kind of vibes. And, he's all about it. He's thinking about characters and all of that. So it really wasn't much to this scene apart from that. And that he also talked about his plans for the weekend because, Xander and Sarah are out of town for their mini moon or should be out of town. So he's supposed to be in charge and, you know, try to see if they can buy the hospital. It would be great for everybody involved, the community, their company, and just the hospital. So Stephanie's on board, and he's asked Stephanie to put in a good word to her mom since she's the chief of staff, and you know he wants to get in ASAP because EJ was trying to buy the hospital, but Kayla turned him down. But who knows if EJ could do a counter offer? So he's just asking Stephanie to just put in a good word for them so that it could be a better investment, right? So another boring scene to me was Leo and Javi. They're just really talking about him if he wishes to quit being Gabby's assistant because he has been complaining about how, troublesome it has been, how toxic it has been, but he's also hesitant to quit because he's loyal to his cousin. He doesn't want to leave her at this time. So he's still thinking about it, and they're discussing career choices, what he could possibly be. So that was just really it with them. So Javi was there at the square and he was just in time because we know from yesterday that Sarah was coughing profusely and nobody knew what was going on. But Javi came in the nick of time and said that, is she experiencing hives or allergic reaction? Does she have an EpiPen? So, Sarah says yes. So he grabs it and, administers it to her. So, that helped her a lot. So by the time, Xander is trying to thank Javi already, whisked himself outside of that. So now they're kind of like confused, right? So of course he is upset because he's like, what could be the cause of that? It seems as if turns out as if Sarah is allergic to pistachio or any pistachio products. So, Xander has to blame somebody. He has to be, livid about it and, blame somebody for his wife feeling that way, right? So before that was really happening, Kat was on the phone with the ambulance calling the paramedics, and Chad was asking what's going on. Nobody really knew, but by the time Javi was there to the rescue, they found out that Chanel mixed up the orders. Turns out that the scone that they ordered, the one that Sarah partook in, was, it had pistachio milk in there. So that's what caused her to have that reaction, right? So, of course, Xander started to blame everybody at the bakery. And, Chad had to stand up and Kat had to stand up, to defend Felicity, right? But Felicity is saying like it's not her fault, and Kat is saying that watch how you talk to her, right? They're very protective of her because of what her condition and everything. So Chad is saying I know you're angry, but you don't have to talk to her like that. So anyways, the paramedics come and Xander rushes Sarah off to the hospital, right? Before that, also Chanel also look back at the bakery, check what's going on, and she has to take full responsibility because she was distracted. That's what happened with the mix up of the orders. So Xander doesn't want to hear that, right? He's upset. So boy, it's just a sad situation all around, right? So Chanel comes back out and she apologizes to Felicity for her, getting blamed for her mistakes, right? So she feels so bad about it, and she's closing down the bakery for the day, and she gives Felicity the rest of the day off, and that she will reimburse her for the full shift regardless. So she thanks her for that, and Kat and Felicity, wants to go home, and Chad is saying, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, she'll be fine." So Chad walks them to the car, right? So Chanel is just upset because she can't believe that, you know, those mistakes could have cost Sarah her life. So Xander has Sarah in the hospital, and she's doing a lot better, but she's just exhausted from everything. So Xander did tell her that he did call the hotel, and cancel the reservations. Right? He doesn't want her to be compromised any further, and they both agree on that. Right, so he also called Maggie and told her what's going on and that Maggie would come for a visit, but she's just saying that she's okay. But he tells her that nothing's gonna stop her from coming. So, anyways, he said he was really just worried out of his mind because he didn't want nothing to happen to her. He doesn't want to lose her because she and Victoria are his world, and she feels the same. And he thinks about thanking Javi, with a gift basket, something nice for his help, right? If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be there, right? So he just feels bad about how he treated Felicity, and he just was really angry in the moment, right? So Johnny and EJ get to talking, and he didn't really want to hear him out at first, but then, EJ is begging him for a time to talk. So he said that, he knows that he's still angry with him, and he's telling him that he forgives him. So he said, "Forgive me for what? Like, what did I do?" So it's like, on the night of the shooting, I know what you did, and I'm telling you that I'm going to protect you regardless of how things are. So he's saying, "Oh, about that, sorry about how that happened, So, anyways, he did say that part, but he said he also isn't sorry about what happened to him. And he's like, yeah, you've been telling everybody that you wish that the job was finished and that I wasn't alive. So he's like, I'm not gonna apologize for that. I have no regrets on that. So, anyways, he just pushed up point because Johnny is basically telling him that he wants nothing to do with him. He doesn't want him in his life, and he hates him, and he forever will. And he's like, don't push me, son. I'm not. Uh, Doormat. And furthermore, like, I've done so much for you, like I've provided for you, I've been there for you. So it's like, does that excuse the things that I found out about you? No, it does not, right? So anyways, to put salt to the wound, he tells EJ that Xander was considering him for a position at Titan. So he's like, and I'm assuming that you turn it down because you're not into that corporate thing. So he's like, yeah, I wasn't at first, but now talking to you, I think I'm gonna take up that job offer. So of course that rubbed EJ the wrong way, right? But I'm saying Johnny is just really vindictive and bitter. It's just not even nice to look at. Yes, he's hurting and everything, but I think it's a little bit overboard. What do you guys think? There was a part where Kat and Chad were there trying to cheer Felicity up and said that, she's a great person, a great baker. She's doing well in school. So they said to her that it's not her fault. And, that helped her to, helped her to feel a little bit better. So they talk about the date some more and how their date is gonna go. So they're thinking about options to go. There was skydiving or a picnic, but they're thinking that it's too romantic. So Kat was suggesting the skydiving, that was too much. So thinking picking trash off the sides the side of the road, and they're saying no, that's just depressing. So they still don't figure out what they're gonna do for a date, but they're just playing around because at this point they know they're spitting with each other. And even EJ called him out and is like spitting with that cat green person, so he's trying to avoid the subject. So anyways, he's like, what do you want, EJ? So EJ says to him that he needs his help to convince the members of the board that he would like to purchase the rights to the hospital. Kayla is not interested, and she doesn't trust him. So Chad understands that, but Chad said that he would put in a good word for him and see where it goes, but it has to be ASAP because Xander wants to buy a hospital. So now EJ has a run for his money, literally. So Johnny sees Chanel in the square, and she's visibly upset, and he's like, what's going on? So she tells him everything, and she says that because of her mistakes, Sarah could have easily died there. She was affected by the pistachio milk in the product. And Johnny's saying, look, you made a mistake, and don't worry, at least they caught it in time, and Xander and Sarah will be fine. So he tries to cheer up, and he's saying, look, she's worried about she said she's worried about them coming again to purchase another item from her store. And he's saying, look, like, they seem to like your products there, and they could have easily taken the jet to go to a Parisian bakery, but they chose to stay here. So she was, feeling better about that. And he lifted her spirits, so she really missed that. And she thought about them, and how, even though he angered her with the whole adoption thing, she understands him, and she misses that connection they have. So she said, you know what? I'm ready to forgive you. I'm ready for you to come back home. So he's happy to hear that. But she said, on one condition, like, you got to be straight with me. Like, you got to answer one question for me. So he said, what? So she said, did you shoot your father? So that was where it ended today. But, today's episode was really dry for me. I would say probably 5 out of 10. Wasn't really anything to it. There was little laughs here and there, but yeah, it wasn't really much today. But let me know in the comments what you think of today's episode. I will see you guys next week. Happy Mother's Day to all my moms on here. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Have a wonderful weekend.